And Bernice Abubeidu, the details now. Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating the cash for seats scandal has adjourned sitting indefinitely after expatriate businesses expected to appear before it failed to show up. The committee had invited 23 expatriate businesses that sponsored the event to testify, but none appeared. Chairman Ameyaw Tremi says fresh arrangements will be made to get them to appear.
The committee has had to adjourn today's sitting in order to re-engage the expected witnesses in the expatriate community. As soon as we have a roadmap, as soon as we have fixed a day convenient to the committee and to them, we will inform you.
Was it that you didn't adequately communicate the plan for this meeting to them?
We have done sufficient. I believe that once we're going back, we will sort it out and then we will meet them. Yes.
Does the committee feel disrespected in any way, given the fact that you communicated to them, they haven't gotten back to you?
I haven't expressed the reasons why they are not here, so we can't go into disrespect. I don't think we have sufficient authority as a committee, and I believe the Ghanaian businesses, they respect the Parliament of the Republic, and for good reason. We have had to adjourn.
One of the reasons we told is that they want an in-camera hearing. Is that a request you grant?
It's an option we've always had. We have a public hearing for any hearing process. You have a public hearing, but also an exception in camera, depending on the nature of what you want to do. So that has never been closed. So far, any of the parties who came before us, if they had wanted an in-camera hearing, would have been granted it on the merits. On the merits. So that's an option that's never been closed.
Could this eventually affect how quickly otherwise you'll be able to run up with your report and meet the deadline the Speaker gave you?
It was always a tight deadline. So obviously, if you hit a roadblock, I won't be surprised. We're supposed to be giving our report a week from today, or is it tomorrow? And then there's an intervening weekend. So if the evidence is not all rounded up, obviously it puts pressure on us. But I can assure you there's already work behind the scenes going on in terms of putting the report together.
So there's a possibility, so an extension may be possible in the end.
Nobody's dragging anybody.
So an extension may be possible in terms of you requesting for an extension.
It may be prudent. It may be prudent. I can't speak for the chairman, but I believe when the committee meets, that will be on the table. They'll be considering that.
But in summary, how has the work gone? Progress of it?
So far, I think you've been with us in the room. You've partnered us, and so far, I think it's been lively. We've had sittings in excess of 7 hours, 8 hours. We've tried to do justice to everybody who has appeared so far, giving them their time before the committee, and no complaints so far. So we will continue till we finish with the process.
Finally, there's the final batch of witnesses.
I believe so. I believe so. That will come up as we go along. In terms of numbers, that will come up as we go along. I have already spoken to the reasons why we couldn't do that today. So I'm grateful.
But when you got into the entry, you said you've had some of travel outside the country.
That was spokesperson for the committee, Yaw Boabing Asamoah. Now that committee has been sitting since Thursday, and we had minority members, Muntaka Mubarak and Samuel Okuzutu Ablakwa, appearing before the committee first because they filed the motion on the floor of Parliament that was closely followed by the Trades Ministry, represented by its Minister Alan Tremanting, responding to the allegations. Then yesterday we had the Millennium Excellence Foundation, and today, as you have heard, we were expecting the expat businesses to appear, but unfortunately they couldn't do that. The sitting has been adjourned indefinitely. We'll be following this closely and bring you updates on the matter. Would quickly like to also reach my colleague Joseph Opoku Gakpo, and just gone by, you heard the spokesperson for the committee, Yaw Boabing Asamoah. Parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku Gakpo joins us via phone for some details. Hello, Joseph. Now, do we know why representatives of the expatriate businesses failed to show up?
Well, Bennett, for now, we are not sure when exactly the committee will be resuming sitting. When the chairman of the committee, Ameyaw Tremi, indicated that the expatriate business persons they were expecting hadn't showed up. And so they've been forced to adjourn sitting to a later date, which will be communicated subsequently. It didn't indicate when exactly they would expect that these persons would actually appear before them. But the general expectation is that it will be as soon as possible, because they have until next week, Wednesday, to put together their report and hand it over to the Parliament of House, as in the general plenary. And so they'll have to do that ASAP so that then they can get their report submitted.
Joseph, have we heard from the expat businesses on why they failed to show up?
Not exactly. From the indication we're getting, about 23 of them, a list of 23 of them, which the ministry had provided to the committee as the list of sponsors, being the expatriate communities. Well, the committee indicates that they wrote to all the 23 of them. It was a very open invitation that they should all show up today at 10 a.m. so that then they would have the opportunity to present their case. None of them showed up, but we've gotten indication that some of them have concerns about going ahead with a public sitting. The committee hasn't gone ahead to disclose fully, but some hints we've taken is that some of the committee members, some of the expatriate businesses had indicated that they have concerns about having to appear at a sitting that is open to the public with the cameras and it being on live TV, and that they may have loved for an in-camera sitting of a sort. The absence of that is what may have motivated their decisions not to show up. But the expectation is that the committee will re-engage them and come up with possibly a subsequent date for them to come meet the committee.
Finally, Joseph, in cases like this, what will happen to these businesses and their representatives who fail to show up?
So this is something that we asked Bwabia Samoa, the spokesperson of the committee, about specifically, and he indicated that they have the power to subpoena whoever, in case they don't show up for the sitting, if that becomes necessary. But he again made the point that they've gathered all the necessary details from the Ministry of Trade and Industry, from officials of the Millennium Excellence Foundation, from the MPs who filed the petition in question. So they have all the necessary details. What the businesses themselves will add is what they describe as an icing on the cake. So they can go ahead and put together their reports without them, but then they'll be glad to have them as well. And even if they don't show up, it won't affect their committee report in any way, because they have all the necessary details they would require.
All right, Joseph, just run us by the impact we are likely to face as a result of these businesses not showing up.
One of the hints we're getting is that the committee may ask for an extension of a sort. They have only up until next week to submit their report. If it so happens that they're able to re-engage with the expatriate business community and they agree to show up maybe at a later date, then they may have to ask the Speaker of Parliament for an extension of the duration within which they would be able to complete their work. The other option that we're gathering is that it's possible they may go ahead and put together their report even without the testimony of the expatriate business community, because what the committee members are telling us, they've gathered more than enough details with which they can go ahead and put together their report, even if the business people don't show up, and it won't in any way affect the report that they will put out eventually.
Thank you very much for the updates. Joseph Opoku-Gapo is our parliamentary correspondent. Away from that, Director of Legal Division at the NCA, Abena Asafo-Adjei, has told an Accra High Court that she had no knowledge of a contract signed between the authority and Infralux Development Limited. She today testified as a prosecution witness in the case arising from the contract that has seen former board chair Eugene Bafo-Boni, former CEO of the NCA William Matthew Tevi, and 3 others charged with causing financial loss to the state. Now, led to give evidence by Director for Public Prosecution Ivona Takra Obuobisa, Mrs. Asafo-Adjei told the court, as head of the NCA's legal division, she is responsible for the drafting of contractual documents and also has custody over them. When handed the contract document in court, she denied knowledge, saying she only came across it when the investigator handling the case came to her office and handed the document to her. She added that she ran checks in her department and did not find a copy of the document in her custody. My colleague Daniel Dazi joins us with more on this particular one. Interesting development, Daniel, isn't it?
Very interesting development. A bit of background to this one. The other three persons who are being accused in this case, and if I can run you through that, are Nana Osu Ensao, Alhaji Salifu Osman, former Deputy National Security Coordinator, and George Derrick Opong, who is also a private businessman. So what we know is that Abna Asafoeje, Mrs. Abna Asafoeje, went on a long leave, during which period this contract is supposed to have been promulgated. So initially, when this contract was handed to her, a lawyer for Mr. Bafo Bonithadios Sori raised an objection that she may not know the contract, the documents which she's being handed. And she said that, as you just read, since the legal department is a repository of all these documents, even on her return from leave, she should have been apprised of all this and she should have seen the records of these documents.
And Daniel, apart from that, we also know that the Attorney General has taken some keen interest in this particular case.
The Attorney General herself is in court today, and this, we must tell viewers, is an ongoing case. We were just told by our man in court, Joseph Akablay, that they had a brief recess, and I was just speaking to him before I came on set, and he tells me that the proceedings have just resumed, and so they haven't even called the next witnesses. We don't know if they are going to continue with Madame Asafoeje, but the AG herself is in court. You would recall that last week, when this case first appeared before Justice Cheyeboa, and they decided that they'll be meeting every Tuesday and Thursday for the hearings. One of the lawyers for the accused persons requested all the documents pertaining to this, and the AG then on the 12th of January served the registrar. Now today, when they appeared in court, they said that the AG has not given them the documents. Mr. Thaddeus Sori, for instance, raised the question that he has not been given any documents, and the judge told him that, well, last week you were not here in court with us, and because of that, it's expected that they will not have those documents. But of course, the AG explained that she served the registrar, and she expected that since it's with the registrar, they would be able to go for those documents.
And we know that last week they also, that's the lawyer for the accused, also raised some issues concerning the health of the accused person and the fact that they could not appear. Do we have all accused persons in court today?
We know that all the lawyers for the accused persons are in court today, and all the accused persons are represented. Those objections were raised when the AG wanted to hear the case every day of the week, and so they said that they would hear the case on Tuesdays and Thursdays because of their health. So thank you very much for the details, Daniel Dazi. There, we'll bring you more on this because, as you heard, the case is still being heard. Now, the Chief of Defence Staff is warning any attack on security agencies, especially the military, will not go without a response. Lieutenant General Obed Akwa says such responses would be proportionately measured to meet the level of attack against the operatives. He also assured residents of Agogo of an end in sight to activities of herdsmen in the area, and says no one will be allowed to flout the laws of the country. Ohiming Teria is there for Joy News and joins us via phone with the situational report. Hello, Ohiming.
Hello.
Great. So what more has the Chief of Defence Staff been saying to residents and those also ensuring that the herdsmen and farmer situation in Agogo is put to rest?
Thank you. Lieutenant General Obed Akwa gave premise to the fact that in recent times, just last week, a police military team were ambushed and attacked by nomadic herdsmen after they responded to a distress call by a woman whose farm had come under attack by cattle belonging to the nomadic herdsmen. And he says that such an attack should not be allowed to go without a response. And according to him, over the years, because the police military team were answering calls by government, they are here on behalf of the Ghanaian community, Ghana as a country. So once the police military team comes under attack, what it means is that it's the entire Ghana that has been attacked, and the military and the security agencies, or for that matter, will respond and they will react. And this reaction in that particular regard has been the deployment of a police military reinforcement team. But this time around, their number has increased compared to the earlier teams that were sent here. And he was so emphatic, saying that Ghana has been a country that depends largely on the rule of law. So if anyone wants to be with Ghana, or communicate with Ghana, the person should be prepared to communicate in that regard, and that should be the rule of law. And that is something that military police team will rise up to in case of any attack on them. And he also emphatic this is a response that actually was reacted by the chiefs and then traditional authority members who were had assembled at that particular meeting, and they said that yes, they can. They agree to the fact that the police and military team have every right to react in that response.
All right, Ohiming, so we can hear the Chief of Defense Staff now.
In the course of their duty, and we wish to make these points very, very clear, that no attack on a soldier or a policeman or any other security person a response. We consider that attack an attack on the state. The policemen and the soldiers were deployed under orders of government. So if anybody dared attack them, then they're defying the authority of government. And as I said, this response will be proportionate. It will be graduated depending on the level of attack. We will up our game. It will address the core problems of the traditional area. Under the authority of the Commander-in-Chief to send in reinforcements, to send a clear message to those who are involved in this dastardly act that they cannot continue to act with impunity in the state of Ghana. Having said that, I'd like to of Agogo, traditional area, to the DCEs, to the Member of Parliament, for the wonderful support that they've given us since our deployment. I think I'll be speaking for and on behalf of all the officers and men to Berima Amachidede, because our information is that he has put at the disposal of our troops his hotel to accommodate them. We are very grateful to you.
That was Lieutenant General Obed Akwa, Chief of Defense Staff. Now, we know that some of the headsmen in the Agogo area are voluntarily moving out their cattle. We'll bring you updates on this in subsequent bulletins. Now, the governing New Patriotic Party says it has adopted a series of proposals submitted by members of the party to amend the constitution. According to the Acting General Secretary of the party, John Buedu, amendments made to the party's constitution will help reduce the internal crisis of the party. The party on December 17, 2017 held its extraordinary delegates conference to amend conflicting and ambiguous provisions in their constitution. John Buedu, speaking at a press conference to adore its reviewed constitution, outlined some of the key articles amended in the party's constitution. Joy News' Parker Wilson was at the briefing for Joy News. He joins us on the line with more. Hello, Parker.
Yeah, hello, Derek.
So what else has the Acting General Secretary of the party been saying?
Well, for him, he believes that indeed this reviewed constitution would clearly strengthen the party, because in times past, when the party is going for an internal election, or primary, you realize that a lot of chaos wrangling, brandishing of ego characterize some of these elections or primaries. So for him, it's going to help. And one of the things that he is saying that they have opened the space as well for the national wing of the party. It was just more like an association within the party, but now the party, per its reviewed constitution, recognizes the national wing of the party as an organ of the party. So with this effect, its coordinators within the constituency would now be elected to be part of the executives within the party at the constituency level. Again, he mentioned that if you look at Article 8, it has been amended to give the party Senate branches a representation at the National Executive Committee as well. And one interesting thing he said, again, was that the flag bearer of the party, a member of the steering committee, but there was no provision making the president of the party a member of the steering committee. Now, with this new amendment or with this new constitution, the president of the republic, if he is on the ticket of the NPP, now also becomes a member of the steering committee to actually help steer the affairs of the party, recapture power for the party in various elections or win elections for the party. So these are some of the things that he mentioned. That again, he used the opportunity to also align the guidelines. You know that tomorrow the NPP at the polling stations level will be electing polling stations executives. So he mentioned that with some of these things, he's urging all the candidates to ensure that they abide by the guidelines and the regulations of the election that has been stipulated clearly in the party's constitution. Again, he said that some members have decided to buy the forms for various candidates. Now, his advice or admonition to these individuals is that when they buy the forms for these applicants, they shouldn't be authoritative as to decide who would want to contest. If you buy a form for a candidate, just make sure that you don't disenfranchise anybody or disadvantage any individual who would have access to the form. So these are some of the things the acting general secretary of the party has been saying, and he went on and on with how the party is ready for.
Apologies, we lost Kwesi Wilson on the line. They're bringing us some updates on a press briefing held by the MPP earlier today. We'll take a quick breather. We'll be back here on Joy News Today with more. Do stay. Thanks for staying on Joy News Today. Now, the Akufo-Addo administration has an ambitious plan to transform Zongo communities inhabited predominantly by Muslims. This is because such places are mostly underdeveloped and face many challenges. Joy News' Ernest Menu visited the Madina Zongo here in Accra and reports residents expect the Zongo Development Fund to address challenges of education, sanitation and unemployment.
Madina is a suburb of Accra and within the Lankwantanan Municipal Assembly. Now, at least per the 2010 census, it has a population of 120,000. Now, it has a huge business hub and, of course, very cosmopolitan in nature. But today, we take a trip to the Zongo community here at Madina. We're going to interact with the leaders and, of course, the people to find out, first of all, the level of awareness of the Zongo Development Fund set up by government and how they expect that to transform their lives. Come with me. I have with me a gentleman and a lady here will speak to them about, first of all, whether they are aware of the Zongo Development Fund. Let me start with you. Are you aware of the Zongo Development Fund?
Yeah, I'm really pretty sure of this thing, Zongo Development Fund, because the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, mentioned it as a key thing that he wants to tackle to help develop Zongo communities.
Okay.
And I think it's a very good and important aspect in Ghana if we really want to develop as a nation.
Okay.
And I hope the President will be able to fulfill his promise of helping the Zongo community to also develop into one of the best communities as a whole.
Hold on for me, Auntie. Mpacho, what is Zongo Development Fund now?
Oh, Matida.
There.
I be a omuba beye abwa Zongo for Nana Akufo-Addo as a president or the buy say ebeboa zongo na yɛn nyinaa yɛakɔ anim na ɔman no nso na yɛ fine.
Now, let me ask you, what are your expectations of the Zongo Development Fund? I'm sure you're aware that the president has consented to it and some monies have been allocated to the fund. What do you expect that the Zongo Development Fund will do for you and your community at Medina?
Yeah, to base on Medina distinct community, I think we need good infrastructures. First of all, I'd like to talk or go into the educational sector.
Okay.
That is getting a modern library which will help the youth of this community to be able to go and acquire more knowledge from it. And again, there's one school which I think has been abandoned over in Zongo. Just when you take the road down there, you see that school. It was started by the former MP, but along the line, I don't know what came, but it came to an halt. So,
is it a community school?
Yeah, it's a community school, and it came to an halt. So I'm wishing and praying that our current MP, Boniface,
who happens to be the minister for Zongo Development
Fund, you'll be able to continue with it. For me, I think the education is key. It's a very, very essential key to any developing country, because if you want to develop, then education should be your priority or your top goal. So I think on my part or my opinion, he should start tackling with the education sector
as well.
And there's a big, or say, there's a gutter just down this road.
Okay.
And it's really, really appalling.
It's densely populated with houses built very close to each other, makeshift structures scattered across the community, and one can't help but notice the entrepreneurial spirit of the women. Yet, residents say unemployment is very high, especially among the youth.
For me, other youth no musi ejuma do mo wie school na omunya musa no ejuma nye no
zongo we ni de ne ehia ni se ejuma unse zongo mankasa no boys ni bebre omunya ejuma bia education level no e wo form kra ena ejuma ni ho kan ye ready a ye pa aban atwa yanim se onu de wo so obeye nti wa bai de yensu yanim se nyame nti nyame nka no ho no omu hweye.
This big gutter you see right behind me is a major source of worry for residents here at the Medina Zongo. In fact, they say it was at the heart of the 2016 elections. Many of them voted for the current MP, who is also the Minister for Zongo Development, and of course the current government, because they were promised that this will be fixed. They want a properly constructed storm drain to address the situation here, which is of course health, sanitation, and they have lost some children as a result of this whenever it rains heavily.
We'll bring you more features on Zongos across the country. Now, ginger, pepper and grains of paradise have long featured in almost every meal in traditional Ghanaian dishes. Many Ghanaians, especially alcoholics, would reject any food devoid at least of pepper. Today is World Hot and Spicy Food Day, and we put the spotlight on a young travel agent who capitalized on the needs of traveling students to commercialize powdered shito. Kwesi Debra visited here at a Yediasi in Kumasi, from where he filed this report.
The basic accoutrements are set. It's time to fry the dried pepper. Ginger is next. Indeed, a pepper sauce is underway. But don't be deceived, it's not the type you're aware of. Young entrepreneur Rich Lavemba is preparing a dried powdered shito.
Whenever students were about traveling, they would usually buy shito or prepare shito and package it in their luggage. By the time they get to their various study destinations, the shuttle either might have spilled and soiled their clothing, books and stuff like that, or it was just too uncomfortable or too heavy to carry and package. So I got worried for my students. They wanted to eat Ghanaian dishes, but carrying it there was a problem. That was when I thought of the dry shuttle mix.
After frying, the pounding starts.
And I make
Pepper
sure we
first,
prepare the shrimps and pound
ginger
them.
follows, and mixed shrimp and herrings is last.
To make sure that the
Rich Love invites another hand if available, else she would have to do it all by herself.
If I should ever use a commercial mill, I may have to decide on a particular spec because I like it in a particular way. And the wood also is good because it's natural. You know, we use wood for medicinal purposes. So when I was buying this, I intentionally asked for a particular wood. So
Initiative meant for only her students has now spread to friends.
I would make some of the dry shuttle and cook wache like a house party or housewarming. My friends would eat it and then they'll want more.
Though patronage increased, many friends who don't like much pepper started to complain, and she decided to grade the product. Though Rich Love wouldn't say she's there yet, she's happy about increasing patronage.
It was just family and friends, so maybe 5 or 10 max bottles a month because they will have to finish consuming before they buy. But now, within a week, I supply minimum of 50 bottles.
Hot and hot. Well, for me, my stomach, I can't be so sure. But for lovers of hot and spicy food, happy hot and spicy food day. Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Debra.
Kwesi Debra with that report. Well, if you're like him and you're not too sure about trying spicy food, maybe you should do so because it's World Hot and Spicy Food Day today. Away from that, he was born male but says he felt trapped as a woman in a man's body. That's the story of a 26-year-old man here in Accra who's gone all lengths to change his sex from male to female. The 26-year-old hairdresser says insults about his feminine features compelled him to do so. He adds he now feels accomplished after going through a hormonal replacement therapy and a series of surgeries to change his gender fully. Maxwell Agbagba caught up with him in Accra and brought us this report.
It is a hot afternoon inside the Medina market. The loudspeakers here are blaring out loud sounds. I've met the man who now wants to be called Angela Coleman. He's wearing high-heeled shoes as he walks through the market, well wrapped like a woman. He draws a lot of attention now, but he's not bothered. He tells me he's used to the many heads that spin anytime he goes to town. Now seated in a chair with her visible love tattoos, heavy makeup, and pink painted lips, he told me insults about his feminine features compelled him to change his gender and walk around in women's clothing.
And one day, I just wake up from bed and I called my grandmom, and I was telling my grandmom that the way I am, I don't like it. When I go out, a kind of insult and stuff, people call me certain names that I don't like it. Also, I went to Spain. So I went and meet one of my people over there, and I was like discussing it with them, and they said, okay, if you are interested to do it there, they can help me to do it, to start doing the process. So they gave me homo drugs to take. So I was on drugs. I was taking the drugs like 1 year now. It's changed the system. Yeah. So I was on the drugs like 1 year. After 1 year, I booked it for my surgery thing. I was even thinking, say, I will not come back home again. That's the end of my life. But after everything went through, I was like a normal person back. So I just came to Ghana back to meet my parents, and they were all like proud of me. They were all happy. My grandmom was very, very, very happy about what I did. So that's the way the thing was going. Yeah, they removed my manhood. Yeah. I was not happy, like the way I said, I was not happy, and the kind of insult and the kind of names people has been calling me, I was not happy at all. I was not happy at all. Yeah. And everything that I do in the house doesn't look like a man. The way I walk, the way I talk, the way I greet, there is nothing shows that I'm a man. I'm a complete woman. So I have to go for the surgery so that I'll be free. It's normal now. I'm not facing those kind of problems now, but a lot of insults are coming out, but I just enjoy it. Yeah.
Angela Coleman, as she chooses to be identified now, says she's hoping to get married to a white man. Black men, she says, do not meet the cat.
Yes. I don't like black men.
You don't like black men?
No, nothing. I can go out with a black man, but I don't have any feelings for black man. Yes.
So you're looking forward to getting married to a
white man very soon. I'm on drugs, but we are trying to arrange. If someone is talking bad about it, me, I don't support that, because it's me and it's my body that I'm using it for. It's not yours. So if I want to do anything with my body, it doesn't concern anyone. Maybe the person is going, the person has not even touched you or talked to you, and all of a sudden you just attack the person. I don't feel okay, and I don't like it too. Because I have never ever insulted you, but you started calling me names and stuff. So if me, I don't control my heart, I will definitely refer it back to you. But me, when you insult me, I will never talk, I will just pass away. But when you attack me, I will make sure I will deal with you with the law. Yes. I'll just go to the station and report it about it. This is how I am, this is my nature, and someone is trying to bring me down. I'll just report to the police and they'll get you.
How close are you? How close are you?
We are closer than the word close. Actually.
I've now met Angela's closest friend in an alleyway where she resides. Malaika, as the man chooses to call himself, says he supports whatever makes his friend happy, including his transition from male to female.
The only thing I can say is they should just mind their own business, because she's minding her business. That's her business. They should stop, poking their noses into other people's businesses, and if they do that, I think the world will be a better place.
Okay.
And there's this thing in the Bible that when you have a problem with your right hand, you don't cut it off, but you just clean it. Yeah, when you're a kid, that's something, you don't cut it off, that kind of saying. So, you just have to endure it.
Okay. So tell me, what kind of should I say sister or brother?
First, he is my brother, but now she is my sister.
I am back in the market where I have the brother of the 26-year-old hairdresser. He says his family endorses the transition.
He goes to school. People are saying she's a woman. Insults a lot. So we just decided, and we came out with this, what it will help the system. And we said it's good. It's his own good, so we can just do what he wants. So we've done what he wants for him. So we are proud of him. We can't throw him away.
Angela Coleman says insults from people within her immediate environment compelled her to change her sex from male to female. However, it remains to be seen whether they will accept this change. Maxwell Agbagba, Joy News.
You're still watching Joy News today with me, Benis Abubedu. A quick breather. Emmanuel Abuajibiafe will join us with business news shortly.